All right, let's get something going here. All right, let's see here. Give it to a guitar player. I knew we always have one. It's all right. I'm good. I am good. So let me go back to the comments. I know some people that jumped on here that are new. Somebody said sounds like Billy Sheehan. All right, then just watching, have fun, really entertaining. You know, it's all about having fun. And I don't know if the people who were making the comments about like the guitar playing stuff, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or you're just joking, playing around. I'm not gonna take it serious either way. But the thing about it, about playing any instrument for that matter, stop trying to, if you are this person, stop trying to dictate how other people express themselves. None of us created this instrument. For that matter, none of us created music. So how people express themselves, that's how they express themselves. And however that comes across, it's for that person. I don't think we would be where we are in music had people not stretched boundaries. Granted, what I'm doing is not stretching any boundaries. This has been done years ago. Uh, this has been done by cats. I've seen some of you guys mention some of the names, like Bootsy Collins, like Larry Graham, who was like the funk master in terms of slap bass, always using bass effects. Billy Sheehan is another one. And the list goes on and on of bass players who have used, bass players who have used different enhancements. I'm using like a stomp pedal here on Logic. I'm using Logic right now. I'm using some of the effects pedals here on Logic. Just having fun, man. I had a groove here, and I was playing clean bass, and that was cool. But I wanted to experiment and have a little fun with some expression pedals. And if you have any kind of software, DAW, especially Logic, Logic allows you to do that. Good morning from Barbados. Good morning to you. And everybody else who I haven't said good morning to personally yet, good morning to you. I think that's Kamar. I appreciate you guys joining me this morning and the people that have already liked this video. I really, really appreciate it. Vic, good morning to you, man. Tyrone, good morning. Joppy, Oscar, uh, Keith Oliver. I think I spoke to you already, but if I didn't, good morning to you, Albert, uh, Floppy, uh, P-Row or something like that. But good morning, everybody. So yeah, it's like you have to find ways to have fun with this instrument or with any instrument for that matter. I just happen to play bass as well. I play guitar and several other instruments, but one of my main instruments happens to be bass. But that doesn't mean I have to be limited in my approach to this instrument because I only, we got laws from the purist. I call them the purists, people that think you're only supposed to. I had somebody, I've had people to talk about the fact that I played more than four strings, and I've had people to talk about the fact that I played past the 12th fret playing different stuff. Yeah, man, keep. A lot of people don't get it, and it's okay. It's okay. Everybody, the cool thing about America, anywhere in the world, people are entitled to their own opinion, and that's cool. But be careful not to try to superimpose your own opinion on everybody else. Morning, Eric. Good morning to you. just be careful not to superimpose your opinion on everybody else, because what you do is we start creating clones of who we think people should be, and that's not the case. Jocko, as much as people celebrate Jocko being the great bass player he was, uh, Jocko wouldn't be I'm sorry, he wouldn't be remembered if he didn't push the envelope. It's cool now hearing the stuff that he done, but I'm pretty sure he caught a lot of flack back in his day with the stuff that he was doing, because at that time that wasn't a popular way of bass playing. It is now. Everybody is doing it now. Not everybody literally, but a lot of musicians you see doing it now. But there are only a handful of musicians who could do that back in his day. In the early years, I'm not talking about in the 80s, but I'm talking about in the early years when he started doing all of that stuff. There weren't a lot of people who were doing that. So same thing with Jimi Hendrix. All these guys, they always push the envelope as far as the boundaries of their playing, and it caused them to create in different ways. It caused them to hear things different ways. And I think instead of always trying to group somebody into something that, and this is not what I'm on here for today, but it's important to say, I think, instead of always trying to loop people into this box of what we think they should do or what we think they should be, we should be careful not to do that. If you have a suggestion, constructive criticism that would help someone, I'm all about helping somebody. If I can give you something constructive that helps you move forward, I'm all for that. But social media is so funny to me. It allows people the license from the safety of their own home, from behind their phones, from behind their computers. It allows people the license to feel like they can be as rude as all get out, or be as criticizing, every single thing. I have people that jump on my videos. You guys know I have a lot of content. And when I see the messages, I don't see all of the messages, but for some reason, it never fails. It's like when someone has a negative message, that one pops up. I'll get a notification about the negative. And I got hundreds of videos. But as soon as someone makes a negative comment, some kind of way, YouTube seems to get that to me so I can see that. And that's so funny. I think it's so funny. But the fact that people are going to be negative, like Keith said earlier, people just don't get it. I think, and it's not about getting it. It's not about trying to, what's going on, Raymond? May it be a negative algorithm. Might, right. Yeah, I think the algorithm picks up on negative stuff and it feeds it to you. That definitely might be a thing. I know it might be a thing for me because I definitely get the negative stuff. I see that all day long. If somebody says something positive, I might not get that notification for a few days, or I have to go look for it. But it's so funny, and it kind of brings me back to the reason why I jumped on here. Musicians depressed. And I know y'all are like, okay, this dude put a sad looking face and musicians depressed on the title, and we get on here and he funking out. Like he on some and I'm like, woo. But no, it's a real thing. Y'all excuse me, I sound a little hoarse. I've been trying to record vocals early this morning. I shouldn't have done that. But it's all good. I can tell you are walking with the Alpha and Omega. You are well. So, thank you, Oscar. I really appreciate that, man. Uh, Depression is a real thing. And I know we're in a season, it's oftentimes looked over and not really talked about from our perspective because, we got this mentality as musicians that the show must go on. We got to keep going. We got to keep doing. We got to keep putting out. But yes, yet you see so many musicians that you don't see them, but you find out about them when it's too late, that silently suffer in depression. And I wanted to address any of you guys, and you might not be on this live right now, but you might be watching in the replay. I wanted to take time out to address any of you guys who are watching this who might be silently dealing with depression, because I know I got a lot of people who watch my videos in secret. They'll never let me know that they watch them. Might be some of my peers, might be some people who don't like me. It's all good, whatever way. If this reaches you and you're dealing with depression, I just wanted to kind of encourage you this morning because I know what it's like, and I think I've talked about this one time before. I'm not beyond it myself. I'm not depressed, but there is definitely a level that we all have suffered with at some point in our career as professionals. Um, there's also some romanticism about depression in art. Uh, yeah, but I think from the standpoint I'm talking about, it's more so about the fact that given the current state, the current climate of the world right now, and the fact that majority, if not all, musicians, I can't say all because there's some musicians who are still finding ways to work around what's going on in the world. And you guys that are coming, you can keep them coming. I'll come back to the comment, but I try to finish my thought because I'll completely lose my train of thought if I stop and answer all the comments. But I think it's so many people, because people are out of work, people are not working. It's easy to find yourself in that place where, man, I don't. People are hopeless. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if they're going to have a gig or a job or whatever when this thing lifts. Some people are like, if it lifts, are we ever going to go back to the same thing? I don't know that we will go back to things as normal after this is all said and done. I don't know what normal is. I was hearing something the other day, and they were talking about the fact that after 9/11 struck, things were never the same. Back before you could walk someone all the way to the gate in the airport prior to 9/11, but now you can't get past the front door. If you don't have a flight, you're not going in. So, so many things have changed since tragedy struck back then, and that was, man, almost 20 years ago now. But things have changed. Some things were for the better, but some things just changed. It just caused everything to change. And what we have to do is be able to adapt to whatever that change is. Music for Jesus, good morning to you. No problem. Let me go through some of these comments. I think I'm at a point that I can uh, go back to it. DJ, what's up, man? I'm low-key depressed playing at a very traditional old school church and don't know how to leave. Hold on just a second. I don't want to. All right, I'm gonna read through the comments. It can be a fertile place for creativity, but quite toxic if it's not part of a phase, maybe. Okay, thought about it in general aspect, not in the pandemic context. All good, Eric. I get what you're saying. Um, it can be. I see what you're saying from a creative standpoint. Because each mood or each mode that we find ourselves in as creatives, and I'll deal with that, Eric, because you brought that up. You're talking about the romanticism part of it. I think each mode that we find ourselves in as creatives, like some of my greatest songs have come. Matter of fact, I'm writing a song now, or I wrote the song, sorry, last year around September, based on kind of where I was at. And it's a gospel song, and I'm singing. That's why I sound hoarse. I was trying to record some vocal parts this morning, and I wrote this song. I'm not gonna say I was in a really dark place, but prior to writing this song, I was really, really dealing with depression, and I kind of, through the journey of it, saw something better on the other side of it. And I'm using this song as an opportunity to kind of share with other people that I can identify with that place of depression, with that place of feeling abandoned, that place of feeling hopeless, that place of just, what do we call it? Just no man's land. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what we are. Thumper for life. What's up, man? And so I've definitely dealt with that. And so I was writing that song from that standpoint. So I can definitely identify with a lot of musicians. And you just never know. People can hide a lot. I've always said this. People can hide a lot with a smile. I can get on here and rock out and I'm not going to do it. But there are people, you see them on one video or one post or something, and they having a great time. Robin Williams, case in point, making everybody laugh, but take his own life. Secretly dealing with depression for years. No one knew about it because they're used to seeing a certain side of people. And I just don't want to speed past the fact that, yeah, we all are moving on with our lives in spite of this COVID-19, in spite of racial injustice in America. People are just kind of moving. But even me, man, it's difficult. And this whole post is not about racial injustice or anything like that. But even as a black man living in America, and I can't say right now, it's just a lot of stuff has come to the surface recently, and it's not that it's new, but it's come to the surface. And because it's come to the surface, it's been in the forefront of everything. So what happens as a black man, it reminds you of every other time that you've experienced this, and it brings all of them up, and they, It's not one of them things, we just want this to go away. We want this to be over. No, it never ends. It's just certain things. It's almost kind of like cutting your arm, and that arm starts to scab over. It's not completely healed, but there is a scab there, so it's not bleeding like it was before. But if you bump that arm, it reminds you that you cut that arm. So you still feel that pain of that cut, even though it's a scab there. Some of it has started to heal, but there's yet and still a scab there. And the more you bump it, it continues to be painful, and you fool around and make the accident of scratching it, then you start the bleeding all over again. You start the process all over again. And I think in just socially, that's what's been happening in our culture, that you've been seeing that scar has been bumped over and over and over and over again. So now you have people who at first were hurting a little bit from the pain of being reminded every now and again, but some people are actually bleeding. You know what I'm saying? So this doesn't affect everybody, because if I scratch my arm, that don't mean you scratch your arm. So me telling you I'm hurting might not mean anything to you, because you didn't scratch your arm. You don't know what I'm feeling. You see me bleeding, but you don't know what I feel. And unless you scratch your arm, there, it's almost like you hit your funny bone. Everybody that knows about hitting your funny bone, ain't nothing funny about hitting your funny bone, because we all have common ground. At some point, you done bump your funny bone, and it's like, oh man, that ain't funny at all. So we all have common ground. Or pulling your tooth, having having a bad tooth in your mouth, and you need to get a root canal, or you need to get that tooth pulled, having a bad toothache. Most people can relate on that level, because we all have felt that pain. But outside of that, it's like my wife, and I know I'm making a lot of scenarios, but I just want to bring it home for people. And I'm talking about several issues now in terms of the depression aspect. My wife has given birth to 3 children. I've been there for all 3 of them through the whole process, throughout the sleepless nights, the back pains that my wife would have, all these different things, the being overweight, the food allergies, her feeling like she's not going to be able to make it to the delivery date. I've been through all of that with her, but yet through 3 kids, I don't know what that feels like to be pregnant at all. I have no reference point whatsoever. I don't know what it feels like to get a daggum long needle stuck in your back for an epidural and all that. And then she did the last baby natural. So I have no concept, no clue. All I could do, if you want to see the last one, it's not that graphic, but like the last, my 3-year-old, we actually filmed with our family channel. We filmed that process of birthing my 3-year-old. She was a natural birth at home. So all I could do, if you see that video, all I could do was be a support system for my wife, because I didn't know what that felt like. But I had to have some type of empathy for her, because even though I don't know what that feels like to be pregnant, to go through all of that, your body changing, your body never going back to the way that it used to be. I have no reference point whatsoever. I will never be a woman. I ain't got no interest in being a woman. I love them, but God bless it. If there's any women on here, more power to y'all, and my hat is off, because you know what I'm saying. All the men, if you're on here and you got a wife, you should give me a thumbs up or something, because it's like, ain't no way I could do that. But I do have empathy, because I see the pain, and I know I've seen the normal version of what she's like. Thank you. I've seen the normal of what she's like without that pain, and I see the difference. What's up, Dimitri? I see the difference in the two. So how she is with pain versus how she is without the pain, it causes me to have, appreciate that. It causes me to have more empathy, because I see the difference. There's a difference in your behavior. Something about you is different. So I'm saying all of that to make a point about even paying attention. You guys that are on here watching, you have people around you. Some of you are connected in music circles, and maybe the people who are depressed might not see this video, but you'll see it. But we have to be empathetic enough to pick up on the signs of when people are different. We women are really special. You sure are. Y'all women are y'all built special. So it's We have to be able to pick up on the signs of when people around us are hurting, when people around us are depressed. If you yourself are depressed, you're not expecting somebody to come and cry with you. I mean, most of us as dudes, we don't want that. And if we do find that brother or that friend that we confide in, we're not looking for him to come solve the problem. You know, sometimes you just want to be able to vent and you want people to hear you out. You just want people to hear you out. You just want people, what's up, Bruce? You just want to know that someone cares. There's a quote, if you guys follow me on social media, shameless plug, J Morgan Base on Instagram. If you're not following me, J Morgan Base on Twitter. I posted something the other day saying, this was by Bishop Jakes. I think this was Sunday. He says, empathy strengthens kinship. Empathy strengthens kinship. And he said, you don't have to know the right thing to say. You just simply have to care. I'm paraphrasing. The scenario that he gave, he talked about when his mom passed away, when he was much younger. And he said he had an uncle that was there that was at the funeral. He knew about his uncle, his mom's brother, but he didn't really know him that well. He knew about him, but he didn't really have a relationship with him. He didn't really get to know him. He said, and they didn't really build a relationship till after his mom died. The reason why that was, he said he saw when his uncle came around to view the body, when he looked at the body, how, Will, good morning to you. He saw how his uncle responded to his mom laying there and how he just broke down and he just wailed and cried and cried and cried. And he saw the pain that he felt for his mom. And so for him, it's like, this dude cares that much about my mama. It created some type of bond. It created some type of kinship. Even though they were blood related, obviously, it created some type of bond for them that they didn't have before, because you're in pain and you know I'm in pain, but you're in just as much pain as I am, but this is not your mama. She's something to you, but she's my mama, and we're both in pain and we both have some type of common ground. And so that empathy is there that strengthens that type of kinship. So at the end of the day, it's like, I'll say it like this, let's be blunt. I have some, being a black man with what's going on in America right now, I have some white friends, dare I say, who have been completely silent through this whole thing and have not said anything, not even reached out to me personally to see if I'm affected personally by what's going on. And I don't fault them for it. But I have one who reached out who has not checked on me at all during this whole process. And good morning, Jonathan, who has not checked on me during this whole process, but they sent me something almost like to give me, good morning. Okay, they speaking to somebody else. Good morning, Larry. So it's people. He sent me something. I'm about to lose my train of thought. Sorry. He sent me something, almost giving me some advice and how to act or something like that. And I think it was on the 4th of July, giving me something, and I went live on Facebook a little bit about some of this stuff. But he went live, I not went live, but he told me something, celebrate this and do this and do that. And to me, I know you meant well, but it came across insensitive. Number one, because throughout this whole process, you have said nothing to me, which is fine. You reserve all rights. You don't owe me anything, but you can't just send me something and tell me how to feel or how to act if you haven't shown me any type of empathy for the thing that I'm going through. It's almost like someone losing their mom, and I have no reference point for that at all. And I seen that pop up, somebody's talking. I see you all's comments, and I'm going to come back to them. But it's almost like somebody losing their mom and you telling them, just keep your head up, everything's going to be fine. And you're trying to give some type of advice and you haven't lost your mom. And I'm saying this in a sense that I hope and my white friends will take some of this and you'll just be more empathetic. I'm not trying to chastise you or anything, but I'm just trying to give you some perspective. Me telling somebody, you should be all right. Your mom died like 6 months ago, or 3 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, and I've never lost anyone that close to me. It's very insensitive for me to say something to them and give my opinion about that situation when I have no reference point at all. All I have is an opinion. You have the freedom of speech and you have the freedom of your opinion, but you don't have the freedom to force your opinion on someone else, or have that freedom to think somebody should value what your opinion is and you don't have a reference point for what they're going through. You understand? So in that, you have to be careful. The thing that I find myself doing in moments like that, when I have a friend of mine who loses a close relative, or who loses a close loved one, or who loses a wife, who loses a husband, the only thing I can give them is my condolences. That's the only thing I can give them. And if they need something from me, it's try to be there for them. I don't know what they're feeling. I remember when my grandma passed away, and my mom, I don't know if she's watching, but I remember the pain that my mom was going through, because that was her mom, and even though that was my grandma, it was a different it was a different level of pain that was there. So I might have had the loss from this being my grandma, and oh man, this grandma's gone. But it was a different level of loss I saw in my mom that I didn't necessarily feel. And not to mention, I've been away for a while, so I've been away from my grandma. So I wasn't as close to my grandma as my mom was to her mother. You know what I'm saying? And they have a whole life together. This is 50 or however many years of someone being in your life, and now all of a sudden that they're gone. I'm only 30 something. I don't have that reference point that she has for knowing this person. So when I say something to her, I can't talk from a perspective of, yeah, it's gonna be fine. You'll get over. You're gonna bounce back from this. You can be encouraging. I'm not saying anything is wrong with being encouraging, but what I have to find myself doing in those moments, do more listening than talking. I have to do more listening and talking. And once I listen a little bit more, I can understand the pain she feels. And I can understand why she feels the pain. Even if I don't have a reference point for that pain, I can do more listening to try to better understand where she's coming from. And so when I understand where she's coming from, that gives me more empathy. And so when there is an opportunity for me to speak, I'm speaking from a place of empathy. When I'm sharing from a place of empathy. I feel what you're going through. Not I see what you're going through and this is what you should do. No, I feel what you're going through. I don't feel it to the degree that you feel it, but I do feel what you're going through. And because you're going through this, my heart goes out to you. And I hope you get to feeling better. I hope this changes for you. I hope you can find some form of encouragement. I hope you can get past this at some point. Or nothing at all. Just simply being present. Just simply saying, I know you're hurting, and I'm here if you need anything. It's simple. It's simple. So, to any of my people, my friends that are here, matter of fact, before I rush to that, let me read these comments before I get way behind. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to get that out. So let's go back here. Let's go back. Okay. So Sheldon, if you're still here, Sheldon said, "Great topic. I've been exposed to depression firsthand. With that, I am going through at home, playing in my serenity. Thank you for identifying. People need to know depression is so serious. It is. I do know that. Good morning from British Virgin Island. Good morning, Impulse Music. Kind of addressed or spoke to. Oh yeah, past experience. I see you. Floppy says." You know about that depression from past experience. And I'm sure most people on this thread right now know about depression to some degree. Uh, let's see here. Music can serve as a great tool for having so many conversations that are needed to unite him. Absolutely. Absolutely. Music for Jesus. Uh, come boldly. Wasn't. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That sermon for Sunday. Yeah, that was a good one. So Raymond says, I so agree with you. Um, Sorry about my little camera moving there. I so agree with you. Man, my wife had a miscarriage Sunday morning, and for what I've seen, she can go through. For what I've seen, she go through at a time. I can't imagine the pain she had to go. Wow, wow, wow. Raymond, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I pray for you and your family, Raymond Solomons. I pray for you and your family. I pray that God restores um, that joy. And I pray for your wife. I pray that you guys are healed through this process. I don't have a reference point for that at all. I don't know what that feels like. But I do. I pray for you. I'll leave it there. I will pray for you and your family because I can only imagine, just with my kids, I can only imagine the idea of going through the whole process. So I'll just say that I pray for your family. Scarabi said, my mom passed away in October 4th, 2018. She is the one who introduced me to music for more than 30 years. 2 weeks before her passing, I bought a Yamaha. Yamaha basically 5 string to help me out a lot. Wow. Wow. You just never know people's story. Thank you for sharing that, Scarabi, if I'm saying your name correctly. Absolutely, Floppy. Thank you for addressing Raymond. Um, Most people don't know, this is Fleece 3. Most people don't know the fear of being stopped by the cops and thinking I might be about to die, and really thinking that I tell my people, wow, wow, that's good, that I really tell my people that I love them. And that's such a real thing for us, man. And you're right, so many people don't know that. If you never experienced anything similar, you don't have a reference point for it, and it's hard to explain that to people. And I think the frustration for a lot of us is the fact that it needs to be explained over and over and over again with so many movies, with so much TV, with so many clips, with so much information. The fact that we feel like we still have to keep explaining ourselves, I know to a lot of my brothers, that in itself has been very depressing. Um, to feel like people don't care and to feel like you're bothering people with your hurt, to feel like you're bothering people with your hurt. I think that's the thing that has so many people depressed. That's, I mean, even beyond COVID. And let me say this because I don't want to speed past what's going on with COVID and minimalize that situation. If you've lost someone due to COVID, my heart goes out to you. Um, if you've lost, or if you're suffering, or you are going through it, I'm sorry from this COVID thing. So I'm not making that small at all because I know a lot of people have lost. If it wasn't the loss of a loved one, some people have lost jobs, some people have lost their homes, and so many other things that people have lost. I'm not in the dark about that, and I know a lot of musicians are seriously struggling trying to figure out how to get through this, pandemic, how to get through this season. And don't even throw the racial thing on top of it, the social thing on top of the COVID, man. It's like that's just double, and it's so much stuff that's being piled, one thing on top of another, and it seems like you can't get a footing. It can be very, very depressing, and so I don't want to encourage that depression or be here to make it more highlighted for you or to remind you about how bad things are. No, I want to be here to give you hope, but because there is an end point to all of this stuff. We don't know when it is, but for the believer, if you are a believer, and I'm not trying to force you to believe what I believe, but right now would be a good time to believe in something. If you don't believe, and I introduce you to Jesus, not a religion, and not any of that stuff, but to Jesus, man, because that's the only thing that gives me hope and faith during this time. There's a scripture that says, there's two scriptures that talks about this. Cast your burdens on the Lord. It's I think it's Psalms 55 and 22. I'm not that great at quoting, but that's one. And another one says, cast your cares on him, for he cares for you. It's like that weight that you're carrying. If you're being depressed right now, if you're going through depression and you have no faith in anything, I don't know how you're getting through it, to be honest. I'm not talking down to you or anything like that, or saying you're wrong or what. I'm not. I ain't here for that. But what I am saying, I don't understand how you're getting. I don't understand how you're getting through this time without any hope. And I know some people are so burned by religion, and this is not a religious talk. Y'all know me. I'm talking. I'm hoping to share and encourage you guys. So I ain't here for that. But what I am here to tell you is that's what helped me through my Thank you, Daryl. I really appreciate that. Daryl Clayton, that did the super chat. I appreciate that. But some people are struggling. Some people are struggling through this thing, but there is hope. There is hope. That's the thing that got me through. And it's an ongoing battle. I will say that. I don't want to paint this Christianity or this belief thing off as, man, once you start believing in God or you accept Jesus, everything is fine. It's not. It's not okay. Everything is not okay. I feel pain like everybody else feels pain. And I've been a believer for a while. But I feel pain like everybody else feels pain. I feel this depression, discouragement, all of that stuff. I'm faced with it and I have to deal with it and figure out how to navigate through it and around it and get over it, because it rains on the just as well as the unjust. It means things happen to people who are of faith and people who are not of faith. You're not exempt because you profess to be something or you whatever you decide to believe. You're not exempt from any problems. But my faith gives me the hope that something will get better, that something will change. I know that I can cast my cares on him because he cares for me, even in the moments where I feel forgotten. But think about it this way. Uh, and this might open up a can that I'm not really trying to open up. But as a black man in faith, seeing this, the oppression of my people over and over and over again, and yet I still stand and believe in something that I cannot see while I'm watching my people be oppressed. Some of it was done in the name of Christianity. A lot of the oppression that happened when you go back to the slavery days, that was done in the name of Christianity. But I'm not here to talk about that because that's a whole other subject that we don't even have time to get on. But my point is, I don't put my faith in a man. I don't put my faith in a religion, because just like there are good and bad black and white people, there are good or bad people who call themselves believers or walkers in faith. We've seen enough horror movies to see these people doing this crazy stuff, and they're talking about they're doing it in the name of the Lord. Like, oh, really? That's who you're doing it in the name of? Cool. Did he get that memo? It's like, so we can't blame faith for what foolish people do. I can't blame all white people for what some white people do. That's not fair. You can't blame all black people for what some black people do. That's not fair. And brown and Asian. I know I got almost every race that's watching me right now. So each man is defined by his own actions. Each man is defined by what he or she does. When I say man, I'm talking about mankind. We are all defined by what we do. I was talking to somebody who didn't like their name because their name sound in the black community, it sounded too ghetto to them. So they didn't like using their own name because their name sounded too ghetto and they didn't want people to think they were ghetto. And one of the things I was explaining to this person, your name, yes, that's the name that you have, but your name does not define you. I know names, don't get me wrong, I know names mean stuff, but your name or where you're from, your background, your ethnicity, your upbringing, all of that stuff does not define you. What defines you is what you do with all of that. So what I choose to do with the name Jermaine Morgan defines who that person is. That defines whether that name is going to be great. Of course, the better that person lives their life, like Martin Luther King. Now that name is synonymous with being great, with being a freedom fighter, with being a hero, with being something good, because he stood for something good and his name became so great that when you mention that name, you think of good things. When you hear the name Jesus, you think of great things because of what he did for humanity, what he did for mankind. So you are not defined by your name, you define what that name is. So whatever your background is, or wherever you come from, or whether I'm a musician, it's like a lot of musicians that got a bad rep, especially male musicians, for being, gigolos, or for lack of better words, or being players, or being womanizers and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, that ain't all of us. And I don't have to be lumped into that category with other people who have made the name musician such a derogatory thing. No, I define what this looks like. I define what I am to my wife. I define the type of father I am just because I'm a black man. Black men are bad fathers, which is a myth, by the way. That's not even true. There's a lot of systemic thing that went into making a lot of those things be what it is, but that's not true all the way across the board. And one of the things I'm finding as well. And I really hope this is helpful to someone. If this is helpful and you're watching live, give a thumbs up and let me know that this is helpful for you. But one of the things I found helpful in my life, even in my relationship with me and my own father, was finding out reasons, getting down to the root instead of judging somebody on the surface based on thank you. Instead of judging someone on the surface of what you see or what they done, even fathers, even a black father. I had an absentee father for most of my life. I did have a stepfather that stepped in, but years later, and I hope that I'm being transparent because I really hope this helps someone. Years later, even to this day, me and my dad are building our relationship. And I didn't really start building a good relationship with my father until I was in my 30s. Like building a solid relationship. And outside of, hey man, how you doing? Good. All right, we'll see you later. Our conversations would generally last probably about 5 minutes, and we would talk once or twice a year, literally. Sometimes we would go a whole year without speaking. But don't get it wrong. I was never resentful towards my dad. I felt pain, but I never hated him. None of that stuff. And I had a lot of questions as a young man. But the older I've gotten, and I know some of you can't do that. And again, my heart goes out to you if your dad or your mom or somebody in your family has passed on and you haven't been able to reconcile with them. But through the years, I've been able to talk to him and hear certain things concerning, it's not even a why. And I know I said earlier, you got to find out the why. It's not even a why to me as to, well, this is the reason why I left. I didn't get an excuse because any excuse would be lame. But I did get context. And I think it's so important to get context as to maybe why people made certain decisions that they made. And I didn't know that he had an addiction to drugs. I didn't know. I had no idea that he was addicted to drugs, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing this because we've talked about it and he'll tell anybody. But he was addicted to drugs, and so the drugs played a lot into his behavior. He didn't have a great relationship with his father, so that played a lot into his behavior and a number of other things that I won't share. But just me having some type of context, it gave me some type of closure to be able to forgive him, like to truly be able to forgive him. Raymond, it's my pleasure. Like it gave me some type of closure to be able, oh, I didn't even know you were dealing with that. Oh, I didn't know that this happened to you. Oh, I didn't know that you never experienced this. Oh, I didn't know that you went through this. I didn't know that this, all of those different things. Granted, some of the things were decisions that he made on his own. Nonetheless, sometimes we all make bad decisions, but some people's decisions land them in worse places than other people's decisions. So I can't sit here and act like I've never made a bad decision or done something wrong before, or done nothing wrong for that matter. It's like everybody's decision don't land them in the same place. We are looked at, especially on the standpoint of black men. We already know we have a higher chance of going to prison than the average white guy in America. And that's just, it's not something that I'm making up. It's a fact. And we could be doing the same thing. And so with that, I'm making a point of, you could have been doing something black or white. Not that you kept the law all the time. They just didn't catch you that time you were speeding, sorry. They didn't catch you that time you were speeding, and that's the reason why you didn't go to jail for running 130 miles per hour in your car when you was 18 or 19 or 20. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not that you're so good, you just didn't get caught. So when we can understand from that standpoint, again, that gives us a place for you people that may be dealing with depression from a relationship that was severed with you and your parents or something like that. I think when we understand context, it gives us a little bit more grace, for the lack of better words. It gives us a little bit more grace, because sometimes it ain't about empathy, it's about having grace. Because if somebody has wronged you in some way and you're just man, just bent on getting back at this person, or I want to be as mean or as nasty to this person as possible because they weren't there for me. They didn't show up. They never came to my games. They never did this. So many stories that we could go through that musicians and people around the world, whoever you are watching this video, could be dealing with. Not just musicians, but people are just dealing with stuff and they have backstories. And I think once we understand these stories, we can have more compassion for one another. And again, knowing that there's hope in faith that some of these things will get better. I might feel some of the pain from this COVID-19. There's a lack of work right now. So there's a lack of financial resources available. Even to myself, things have slowed down. But just because it slowed down, it doesn't mean I'm hopeless. I don't have to take my own life because right now I don't have XYZ or I don't have the amount of money I would like to have. I don't have to take my life. There's a saying that says, never make a permanent decision in a temporary place. This place that we're in right now, whether it's social injustice, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's a depressed place for whatever personal reason you have going on, it's a temporary place. It's a temporary place, and it is possible to lift yourself out of this thing. It's possible. You have to find other ways to kind of cope through this thing. And somebody says, like, how do I find ways? For me, I encourage myself through reading the Word of God, through reading the Bible. I encourage myself by listening to messages from people that I respect. I encourage myself by listening to motivational stuff. I have a system in the morning that I get up. And I'll share I've shared this many times, but I don't take for granted that there are a lot of new people. You may not know me. So my system normally in the mornings when I get up super early to start my day off. Most of the time I try to get up around like 4:30, 4:40. That don't always happen, but I try. It don't happen because I'm trying to be inconsistent. It's like most of the time I'm staying up with my wife, just giving my wife her quality time. So that being said, sometimes I don't get to bed at the time I would like to get to bed. Nonetheless, the whole point of that, I have a system that I get up in the morning, and most of the time I'm praying when I get up. I pray. I don't get up and check I used to get up and check my phone immediately when I got up. But I noticed when I check my phone, it's like that takes your day. Immediately, if the first thing you do when you get up in the morning is check your phone, that takes the full attention of your day. Because at that point now you're responding. You're reacting rather. You're reacting to everything you just saw. You see notifications on your phone. This person texts you. This person called you. You got this notification. Somebody don't like your post. Somebody said something negative. It can be just a whole slew of stuff that could show up when you try to check your phone first thing when you get up in the morning. So I try not to do that. If I'm picking up my phone, I'm picking up my Bible app. After I prayed, I pick up my phone and I started reading. I started reading my Bible. And that don't always just put me in the greatest place. So I'm not going to give y'all that illusion like I read my Bible and everything is great. No, that's not it. I read my Bible. That's just part of my routine. I read my Bible. I get up. I come to my studio space. And in here, I work out. I listen to something positive. I either listen to like a message, sermon or something like that, or I listen to a motivational message. If you want some people I'd recommend, I listen to like Eric Thomas. That's a motivational speaker. I listen to Bishop T.D. Jakes. I listen to Dr. Miles Monroe. I listen to, hopefully you can go back and watch this to get these names. I've listened to Tony Robbins. I've listened to Jim Rohn. I've listened to Inky Johnson. Oh man, the list goes on. Les Brown and so many other people that I listen to. And Stephen Furtick. A lot of people I listen to. And if it's good information, I try to take in as much. Early in the morning, I try to have the whole point of me having a routine. I try to get a hold of my day first thing in the morning. I don't want anybody else to control my day. So I get in control of my day by listening to something, by working on my body, by getting in a good frame of mind. I try to practice if, depending on what I'm doing, or I might just go right into the hardest thing that I got to do for the day. That could be recording. Sometimes that's recording a video, recording a song, creating something, whatever the case may be. I knock out the hardest things earlier part of the day because now I'm all pumped up. If you listen to some of the stuff that I listen to in the morning, you're on a high. So you're ready to tackle some hard stuff. So I started tackling hard stuff like it literally Eckhart Tolle. I have to check him out. If I'm saying it right. So yeah, I start tackling my day after that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So these gives you tools of how to cope with depression, how to cope with those type things you may dealing with. You have to get some type of grip on your day and be mindful of the stuff that you take in. You can't keep taking in trash and expect to produce something good. You can't do it. It's not possible. So you have to look at your intake. Now, I'm not saying anything is wrong with being entertained every now and again. I'll listen to a comedian or something like that every now and again because I like to laugh. So I'm most of the time I'm on social media looking for something. If I'm not working on social media, I'm looking for something funny. I want to laugh. So I'll find something that makes me laugh. Of course, people doing dumb stuff. I always laugh at that. Instagram, you don't have to look far to find somebody doing something dumb. So I'll laugh at that kind of stuff. I like being entertained. But at the same time, I'm mindful of how much of that I take in. Even with the pandemic, I don't watch the news at all. I get the news through several different sources. But as far as at my home, catching the 6 o'clock and the 9 or 10 o'clock, whatever time it comes on, I don't do that anymore. I cut the news off. I don't need to be reminded of how bad things are all the time. I am informed, but I do not watch the news. I don't. I'll see stuff every now and again. There's certain things, if I need to be seeing it, I'll check it out. If I need to check out the weather or what's going on, I'll pull up my app or look it up and just find out. But nowadays, you don't have to look far. The news is in your feed. You're going to get the news whether you want it or not. So I'm not going to help that out by watching the local news and what's going on and all this kind of stuff. I'm informed, but I'm not crowding myself with that information because that does not help you. That promotes depression. They are not giving you any good news. Good news doesn't get high ratings. You know what I'm saying? Good news does not get high ratings. So most of the time they're going to give you bad news because people react to bad news. We want reactions. We want views. We want likes. We want shares. We want people to get excited. We want people talking. Most of the time, if it's something good, it's harder to get people to share it. If it's something positive, like my wife and I find the hardest, one of the hardest things for my wife and I running our family channel, it's hard to manage that channel because it's a lot of positive stuff. We don't get on there and share drama. We have stuff in our lives like everybody else, but that drama does not consume our lives. So we're not going to get on here and put that out, just to get views. We could do that and just create drama just for views and be like these, reality TV stars, but I'm not doing that. I don't want to put out drama. So I'll suffer a lack of views rather than put out drama, rather than put out negative stuff that pulls people down. No, I don't want to do. I don't want to do anything that's going to aid in helping somebody become more depressed, helping somebody become more negative, helping somebody become more cynical. No, I'll use my platform to show you what a healthy marriage looks like, because they do exist. My wife and I have a healthy marriage. And they do exist, and we have a healthy relationship with our kids. Is it perfect? Healthy and perfect are two different things. No, it's not perfect. But is it healthy? Yes, it's healthy. So I'd rather display what's healthy and let people see a version of what is healthy instead of repeating dysfunction and letting people see dysfunction all the time. Me and my wife have this thing that we'll do, and I know I'm going on for a minute, but I hope this helps someone. Me and my wife have this thing. We'll display affection in front of our kids. And something else, I mean, of course, limited affection, but something else that we try to do as well in front of our kids. If we have an argument in front of our kids, because they do come up from time to time, and you can have a little argument or something like that, we're not always perfect at this, but we try to get in the habit of letting our kids see us make up, letting my kids hear me apologize to their mom, or letting my kids hear their mom apologize to me for something that went down. Because I think growing up, that's something that we didn't see. We saw the fights. If you grew up in a home and your parents bickered and argued or whatever the case may be, you saw that side, but you didn't see them make up. So being able to show my kids that, like, it's natural to argue, or it's natural to have a disagreement, rather, not necessarily to argue, but to have a disagreement about something and to even have a heated discussion. But it's also natural to say, I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? I didn't mean to raise my voice. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to do that. It should be natural for your kids to see that. Just as much as they see the other part of it, they should also see how to rectify the situation. So now you're not raising up kids who repeat your actions of being angry, and they don't know how to treat a person with respect after they come off of that anger cloud. You know what I'm saying? So now, after everything is said and done, I don't know how my mom and them resolve their problems. I just know my dad would storm out, and I'm just being for a scenario. I just know my dad would storm out, and he would do this and he would do that, and he would leave, and mom would go cry in the room, and next thing I know, we wake up the next morning and everything's good. Like, what? Yeah, they would be fine. Dad was always home, and he would, he would leave for that time being and stay gone for the rest of the day. But in the morning, he wake up and it's like nothing ever happened. It's good that dad's home, but the dysfunction of that is your kid didn't see how to fix the problem. They need to see how to fix the problem. They need to see you saying, I'm sorry. They need to see you guys hugging, because you're telling your kids, now tell them you're sorry and give them a hug. They do it in the back of their mind the whole time. I never hear you say I'm sorry. I never see you give anybody a hug. So all of these things play into who we are. All of these things build block upon block upon block, creating our personalities, creating that depression that's growing. Because depression doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. It's the seed that's planted there, and just like a tree, that seed is planted years in the making. And so after a while, this letdown on top of that letdown, because I guarantee if most of you go to the root of your depression, what you're depressed about has really very little to do with the surface issue that you quote unquote got depressed. I got fired from my job, and so I'm depressed because I can't find work. No, you're depressed because you feel like a failure, and getting fired from your job reminded you of when you failed other times before. So you have an issue with failing, not being fired from your job. You feel like a failure. And when something happens in this regard, it reinforces that idea of I'm a failure. So when you feel like you're a failure, you start embracing that and you start saying that to yourself, even though you may not say it out loud, but you feel that. And because you don't talk to anybody and you don't get that out, and you never dealt with the idea of being a failure, it causes you to repeat a cycle of actions, and you start doing things that have you spiraling out of control if you're not careful, when you have to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is not being fired, or the root of the problem is not having work. The root of the problem is feeling like a failure. So how do I go back and deal with feeling like a failure? Well, I have to combat that with positive things. I have to reinforce certain things. I have to make a list. I know this is kind of long, but I feel like this is helpful. I have to make a positive list of things. I have to start acknowledging what I did good at the end of the day. I have to do that. It's something it's hard for me to do, but I make a list, a productivity list that I check off of things throughout the day. If I have things I have to get done, I'm going to go live today. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on my song. I'm going to record. I'm going to practice. I make a productivity checklist of everything that I need to get done for the day. And so as I move throughout my day, I check these things off the list. So at the end of the day, I can go back to that list and say, oh, you got that done? I know you set out to do 20 things, but you at least got 10 of them done, as opposed to getting none of them done. I say this all the time in your bass playing. You have to give yourself credit. One way of battling through depression is giving yourself credit for the good stuff that you do. Give yourself credit for the things that you're doing that's right. The good things that you're doing, give yourself credit for it. Give yourself credit for it. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself some credit. I'll say that one more time. Give yourself some credit. Some of us as musicians, we're so hard on ourselves because we're trying to perfect everything. And that idea of perfection goes into every other area of your life. So some people who are really good on music, as a musician, they overcompensate for the areas that they feel like they fail in. I can play music really, really well, and so I'm going to overcompensate with my musical ability and not deal with the thing that's causing the depression for me. And so you'll see, think about it, the history of so many musicians who've committed suicide because in public they were a success, but in private they felt like a failure. Not that they were a failure, but in private they felt like a failure. And not being able to properly deal with those private failures will destroy you publicly. All right, so let me go through some of these Let me go through some of these comments. Wow, I'm lost. I done lost a lot of, missed a lot of comments. Sorry, not lost. All of us have fallen short. It's what we do afterwards that matters the most. God's grace is sufficient. Absolutely. Break hearts, break bones. Yes, they are their own breaks. Okay, I see this. This is such random. My tests have become my testimonies, and my messages have become my messages. Absolutely. Um, ooh, you said something there. Don't take in trash. Yep. You put in trash, you get trash. You get it back out. You just get it compacted. Twitter is my news. Absolutely, I stopped watching the news about 5 years ago. Scarabi says, I try to read music sheets and bass books, but it ain't easy since my brother's passing. I didn't touch my bass since. Hmm. Wow. Wow, Scarabi. Have you have you created anything? I'm assuming that you're new to bass. And so if that's your outlet, you have to find things that inspire you. I don't know how far you are in your musical journey, growing in your musical journey, meaning like I don't know if you're beginner, intermediate, or whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You see how when I jumped on here at the beginning of this thing, I'm going through sounds and I'm having a good time. Even if you can't do nothing but play Mary Have a Little Lamb, find some type of way to make that interesting. Find some type of way to make that exciting. And I know that doesn't account for the entire day or anything like that because that's only going to take about a couple of hours. But if you can find something in your music, if that's your thing, if that's your go-to thing, make sure you make that something exciting. Along with your learning, make sure you spend just as much time having fun, just playing, even if it don't make any sense. Make sure you spend just as much time having fun with that instrument. Because one of the things I found that helped me to start really growing as a musician was being able to translate my pain through this instrument and through not just this instrument, but through the instruments that I play and the music that I create. I found an outlet. I found an outlet. Now, it's not just putting a whole bunch of depressing stuff and playing a whole bunch of depressing music. No, I found an outlet so I can get this stuff out. It gives me a door to get this stuff out. So if I'm playing something that's from the heart, whether I'm expressing gratitude, whether I'm expressing pain, whether I'm expressing happiness, excitement, I figured out through this instrument how to get it out. And some skill level is kind of required, but not really. And what I mean by that, I will explain because I know some people, you got to be good to do that. No, you just have to be honest. It's a difference. Some people are not what we would consider great musicians, but they play from a real place. They play from a passionate place. So what they are trying to get out, they are able to get it out. No, it doesn't matter what you think about what they played. They figured out how to be honest with the little bit that they know how to do. Think about these people growing up that played and sang songs like me growing up backwoods church and everything like that. You would hear keyboard or not keyboard, it wasn't keyboards then, it was piano players that would sit down and they would play. It wasn't that good, but it was okay. And they would sing and they would play and they would sing with so much passion. They would sing with so much conviction. You would feel every single note that they played and every note that they sing. And even though it was not that great, they were being true in that gift, in that form. And they were letting out all of these different things. And so they found that outlet through that music to get it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. The door doesn't have to be perfect for me to get into the house or for me to get out of the house. I just need a door. I just need a window. It doesn't have to be perfect. So this could be your window. This could be your door to deal with the problems that you are dealing with. I'm not saying that's going to solve the problem. Whether I'm inside the house or whether I'm outside the house, that does not change the fact that I have something that's going on internally. But having a different perspective. If I'm in the house looking at four walls, I can only focus on what I see. But if I can step outside of that door and look at all the vastness of what's around me in this big earth or this big world, it gives me a different perspective. My problem didn't change. but I changed the perception or the perspective on how I saw my problem. So part of it is how we see things that we're dealing with. It's not that we can't get past it. Some stuff we don't need to get past. Some stuff we need to hold on to because those are things that I can pull from when I really need them. I don't want you to forget about your talking to Scarabi. I don't want you to forget about your brother. I don't want you to forget about the pain of losing your brother. I don't know what that feels like. I have one brother, and I don't know what it feels like. And I would not want, if I ever lost my brother, I don't want to not think about it. That's my brother. But at the same time, I can have a different perspective on how I see things around that situation. I cannot be hopeless in that situation by changing my perspective, by getting something positive in me that uplifts me to keep me going. So while I deal with this thing that I'm dealing with, it doesn't take me out. It doesn't take me completely out. So I learned how to coexist with this thing that's now a part of my life. I have, some of you guys know, I had a lawnmower accident when I was 6 years old as a little boy. And I've told the story before, and that it caused some serious injury on my left leg. It cut off my left heel completely. And if you go to my website, you'll see it's from under the speaker tab. It'll tell a little history about me, from tragic lawnmower accident at the age of 6 to inspiring people around the world. That thing, having that lawnmower accident, changed my life forever. I could never get away from what happened to me as a little boy with this thing with my leg. I walk with a slight limp. And there's other things that come as a result of what happened to me as a kid. But over the years, I've learned to coexist with this thing that I can't get rid of. Part of me going through what I went through is the thing that gave me so much empathy for other people. As after I started embracing it and stopped running from it and stopped being scared or stopped being afraid of what people think, but embrace what it is, that thing that caused me so much pain, I just actually embraced it and figured out how to navigate around it. Now it helps people. It helps people. It don't help me that I went through that. And there's some parts of my mind that kind of wish I didn't go through that, but ultimately I'm like, I'm glad I did, because I don't know where I would have landed had I not done that. Had I not went through that situation, I probably would have been in a different place. I don't know if I would care as much about people as I do, and I could be very, very superficial. So having that happen to me, there are some benefits to that. So the good thing about the things that happen to us that are so bad, we can pull away from that. We can pull good away from that, and we can see how they can be a blessing to other people, and ultimately they serve us. They end up lifting us up ultimately. I done talked a lot, y'all. But I hope this stuff is, I truly hope this is helpful for someone. I wanted to get on here this morning and spend more time talking about that, rather than just talking bass all day long. I know y'all come to see me play bass, but I know there are some people that just come for the conversation, and so I really, really appreciate you as well. Let's go back through some of these comments. Okay, that's so good. Give the kids full spectrum of the situation. Yep. Not much people say. I'm sorry. Not much people don't know how to say I'm sorry. Yep. A lot of people don't know how to say I'm sorry. How, Jermaine, as a bass player, do you think learning guitar would help me improve my bass skills and musicianship? Absolutely. It's definitely going to challenge you, Harvey. Intermediate. Got you, Scarabi. Yes, and you can see the passion. I'm Sydney. I'm assuming that you're responding to something that I just said. I lost my brother, sister, and father, and I grieve their loss and celebrate their lives through singing and playing music. There you go. Man, it's good. Needed talk. God has blessed you greatly and spoke through you mighty this morning. Man, to God be all the glory. Sydney, I'm glad that you got something from this, and anybody else that's watching, anybody else that might be watching in the replay, again, I don't know all of you by name, but I'll try to remember you by the numbers in my prayers, for you guys, for your continued strength, for your continued sanity during this time, because we all need it. We all need that prayer. We all need encouragement. We all need to be lifted up. We all need to be reminded. All of you are great. If ain't nobody told you today that you're great, you're great. I'm pointing at you. right there. You're great regardless of what level you're on, intermediate, beginner, advanced. I ain't even started yet, but I'm thinking about it. You're great. You're great at something. You're great at what you do. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And the latter part of my life, I'm still young, but I've been trying to pursue purpose. And I hope that you do the same, because I think the more value we can add to one another, the more value we can add to other people, the better we become ourselves. Let's see here. My bass playing will be better, more emotional because of this. Fleece, absolutely. Sheldon says, love the conversation. Oftentimes we know the solutions, but we sometimes need to hear because it becomes more real. Absolutely. And, people just being honest and sharing their stories instead of always sharing the wins. Sometimes people need to see the failures because it shows me how to get through it. Kind of like what I was saying with the parents towards the kids. Us showing our kids, it's not my wish to show my kids having a bad moment, like show them me and their mom having a disagreement. But it's life. You're a human being. It's going to happen. You're not going to agree with 100% of everything, because it's like, in my mind, I don't want to create dysfunction. So I know some people have a bad thing. They don't want to argue around their kids at all. So their kids never get to see them argue, and their kids never get to see them make up. And that in itself creates dysfunction, because you need that to know how to function. When you are, one of the things I learned in school, high school, we had vocational classes, and I took auto mechanic. I took auto mechanic for 2 years. I had my first car. Just a little funny story short. I'll be brief with it. My first car was a 1982 Buick LeSabre. I bought it for $500 on the test drive. The car quit, but I was just so happy to get a car. But it wasn't because it was bad. It ran out of gas. That's the only thing. So we got some gas. I paid my little $500. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Votech. Exactly. Votech. So I paid $500 for my car. I drove that car for read my lips, 2 weeks, period. I drove it for 2 weeks and it quit. It quit at the high school. I was in the band. I was on my way to a football game. It quit. Pulled into the parking lot of high school. Nonetheless, my stepdad bought this van, a little A-team looking van. The van was about this long, literally, but it had a V8 motor in it. So what we ended up doing is that year in Votech, we ended up pulling my car in there. We pulled my car in there and the van in there. We took the engine out of the van and we placed it in my car. And my car became the project for my group. We broke off into groups, but my car became the project for my group. And the point that I'm telling you all of this, I learned a lot about working on cars by having to fix my car that year. I learned how to put a transmission in. I learned how to put the engine in, how to mount the engine up, like some of the stuff we had already learned in the books and that kind of thing. But you can learn a lot in the books, but if you don't have any projects to work on, that's the thing that made Votech. You had projects. You had projects to work on. So my car messing up, as bad as it was for me, it was actually a blessing, because not only me, but other people were affected by my car being messed up, because we all learn about the car and learn about getting the carburetor to work correctly, and all the electronic stuff that needed to be connected when we put the engine in there, and making sure it had the right mounts and all that kind of stuff, making sure that the engine sits in there correctly, and making sure the engine wasn't wobbly, and making sure that the fan belts and everything were working, and everything were put together precisely. All of those different things work together to help me to learn how to work on a car. So now, because of that, and because of all the other things I learned in Votech, and as well with my parents showing me how to change a tire and all that stuff, you didn't learn how to change a tire when there wasn't a flat tire. Most of us didn't. You learned how to change a tire when there was a flat, or that whole situation. You don't learn how to put oil in the car when the car is full of oil. When your dad has to change the oil, or when he has to top off the oil or something like that, that's when you learn how to check the oil. You know what I'm saying? Most of us, that's when we learn. When there's a problem, that's when you learn most of the stuff you learn. Other than that, you have hypothetical situations. Hypothetically, if this happens, hypothetical is cool, but it doesn't really give you a hands-on experience. And the more hands-on that you have, if I'm in an argument with my wife and we come to a conclusion and we resolve that argument, even if we don't resolve it right then, it goes on and on. But if I'm able to come back out and let my kids see, you saw part of the argument, but if I'm able to let them see how we reconcile this situation, they have a better hands-on experience, not hypothetical. They have a better hands-on experience of how to handle this situation if it ever comes up in their marriage. And that's all I'm trying to do here is give you guys, yes, learning through the process. And so that's another thing that helped me with going live, believe it or not. The live is just not for me sharing with you. The live helps me to be honest with myself as it relates to my learning and putting myself out there. Like last week, when I did the live and I talked about, I don't want to play bass anymore. Something like along that line. Not that I didn't want to play bass, but I didn't have it. I was struggling. But being vulnerable shows a person that's under me that's trying to come up and get better that even at this level, it still happens. But how do we get through that? How do we navigate through those times when we don't want to do it? What do we do to push through that? What do we do to push through the setbacks of what we feel? We keep going. We keep pushing. We find solutions. We come up with something. We work through it and we get it done. That's as simple as that. We just get it done. I have a quote on my phone that it comes up every day. I says, I don't quit. I get results. And that's something that I said to myself to remind myself, no, quitting is not an option. It's not an option. Stopping is not an option. Now, if something gets bad enough that that's the only option or only alternative we have left, yeah. Now, quitting and revamping are two completely different things. There are some things, if it's not producing any fruit for you, if you stop doing that, that doesn't mean you're a quitter. That means you just kind of reevaluate. All right, this particular thing that I'm doing is not working. Because I want to be sure that I distinguish between the two. Uh, and so I'm getting a lot of notifications pop up. So I want to make sure that I make that, you sometimes you need to reevaluate. All right, this thing right here is definitely not working. This particular way that I'm trying to do this is not working. So maybe I need to try it a different way. That doesn't mean you quit. That means you found a way that didn't work. So now you got to find another way that might work. And that might not work. And try something else. Keep trying something else. But the objective overall, you don't quit. That's the whole point. You don't quit. All right. So yes, my brother made me learn how to drive a stick shift back in the day by forcing me to drive us home from wherever we went. I thought he was crazy, but it worked. Yep, that's how it worked. That's how it worked. And now I'm not all for the chunking the kid in the pool and them figuring out how to swim. I still gotta. I don't know if that's the best way in terms of that regard. But some people, that's how they learn how to swim. That ain't my story. But to each his own. But the objective of it all is to keep going, y'all. Keep going. Stay encouraged. Keep pushing forward, no matter what happens. Uh, Everything might not be gravy right away, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay terrible. So don't make any permanent decisions right now in this temporary place. You might need to look at another way to reinvent yourself during this time. As a musician, if you're out of work, look at some other ways of reinventing yourself. What are some other things that you do really, really well that could serve you, that could bring you some type of income while we wait on gigs? Are there any places, are there any restaurants near you that you could contact that they've started serving, but they might be serving outside? Do they have a budget to bring a band and come play outside while they're serving people? Think about it. All right, so you don't have a budget. What do you have? What can you offer? All right, I'll come do it for free. I just want to let my music be heard. Because sometimes it's just getting that audience interaction that you need. Look, I'll come play for free. I want to be out around somebody. I just want to play. I want to get out of these four walls, feel like I'm going crazy. I just want to come out and play my music and see if anybody will let you do it. And once you come out and present it to them and you start drawing a crowd, all of a sudden you create more revenue, adding value to the restaurant. Now they want to give you money because you're adding value to them. So it might be something to think about. So I'm giving some of you guys some ideas of some things that you could possibly do. And yeah, all right. So that's enough of that for today. I wouldn't even plan on being here that long. I was literally gonna cut this one short, but oh well. Could you please say what you have on your phone? Could you please say what you have on your phone? That quote about don't quit. Oh yeah, I said I don't quit. I get results. That's the quote. I have it shows up on my phone every day. I think I have it set on a timer as to when it shows up. But I don't quit. I get results. It's just something that I say to myself. Just keep myself reminded. And that's another thing that helps me to cope and to I don't like saying cope because it makes it sound like I'm trying to keep whatever this thing is around and just kind of go around it. No, that helps me to overcome that idea. Peter, what's going on, man? That helps me to overpower that thought that's trying to take over my mind. I don't quit. I get results because it's gonna come some point in your day. If you haven't had it happen, just keep living. It's gonna come some point in your day where you're like, man, I'm done, and then that notification shows up. I don't quit. I get results. It helps you. All right. I seen somebody else said something. Okay, we was a little crazy, but it was low for no traffic areas. My mom would have killed him otherwise. I got you. Got you. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for giving this video a thumbs up. I don't mention this often. Larry, good talk. Thanks for sharing from your wealth of knowledge. No problem. Like I said, I don't mention this often, but I do coaching calls. So these kind of discussions, if you want to have these kind of discussions with me one-on-one where I share and give you some advice, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life, but give you some advice from a different perspective and maybe give you some things you haven't considered as far as career wise, can be on a personal level. I've even had guys that I've coached that were much older than me who asked me some things concerning their marriage because they were newlyweds, even though they were older than me. And I was able to kind of try to coach this guy with his relationship. Now, and I know some of y'all like, what? Yeah, just giving, and it's not trying to tell this person how to live their life, but giving them some type of ideas for things that he could do to help his marriage, things he could do to try to help to grow his marriage, as well as working with him with his bass playing. So that's on JermaineMorgan.net. Just go to my coaching tab, and you can see where you can set up the coaching calls with me for either it can be music or it can be personal. It doesn't matter. I know some of us just need that other person, just need somebody to help me with some ideas because I'm at a loss. I don't know where to go from here. And I'd love to help some of you. That's something I do offer. So these talks don't just stop here. They happen with other people all the time. So I invite you to become uh, one of my people there if you're interested in that, as well as my bass lessons on JermaineMorgan.net, the monthly membership lessons. I have tons of other courses. If you haven't checked out the website, go there. You'll see all the stuff that's available. I do music production and all that kind of stuff. So enough about that. JermaineMorgan.net if you want to know more about me. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for rocking with me today. I'm out of here. Much love to you. Peace. What's up, John? I'm out.